Here's a Ponzi schemer's promise. Imagine I show up to you and I tell you, you know what? I'm able to spot and invest in little known areas of wealth creation. So if you lend me your money, I promise to give you significant and steady returns on your investment. Let's make this concrete, like significant and steady. Let's just make significant 10% return on investment and steady monthly. How's that? That's, I mean, all things aside, if you didn't know this was a Ponzi scheme and someone went up to you and said 10% return on investment monthly, would you think that's a sweet deal? That's a whole lot, man. That's ridiculously a lot. Just anybody of you, I don't know what your interest rates are for your bank or if you have a portfolio, but that's an insane amount of money. All right. Like, of course, you'd want to fork up some cash. If I knew for a fact that someone could give me a 10% ROI on a monthly basis, I'd be like, yeah, sign me in. Well, I'm gonna be that guy. The only difference is this is a Ponzi scheme. It turns out it's not that I'm able to spot little known areas of wealth creation. It just turns out that I've got a really nice mason jar, and I started my company called Mark Champagne Investment Securities. And thanks to my mason jar, we're gonna have some fun. I'm gonna give everyone now $10. So we're gonna use these little dots. These are gonna be like our made up money. I'm gonna give you 10 of these little pellets. Type in 10 to confirm you now have $10 in your wallet. So your wallet was empty. I give you 10 of these little coins. Everyone should have 10, and we're gonna play along. All right, cool. And of course, my mason jar starts off empty, and I'm going to need some investors now. So you saw the offer, right? So I'm going to give you 10% return on investment on a monthly basis. Who wants in on this? Type in yes if you want in on this action. All right, Kartik, you want to invest? All right, cool. So I'll take Kartik as my first customer, right? And hold on, I'll take actually Kartik and Ryan. You'll be my two investors, and we'll hold off for the rest. Kartik and Ryan. So Ryan, you need to give me $10, and Kartik, you also need to give me $10 because I need startup capital. Why did Ryan's wasn't green? Ah, whatever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Kartik, that's your money. Could you write 0 to confirm you have nothing in your pocket? It's all in the mason jar now. And of course, you don't know what's in the mason jar, right? You're not privy to that. So let's put a big curtain over that. And Ryan, give me your money. Put 0 in the chat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you. So Kartik and Ryan are my first investors. They were like, their mouth was watering when they heard the offer. Cool. Well, we'll see next month. And you're probably crossing your fingers, thinking, "Man, I hope this guy's not lying to me." And lo and behold, January goes by, and we're at the next month, and I'm going to give you back I'm going to keep my promise. I'm going to give you back $1. So Kartik, here's $1. So write how much money you have in your pocket. And I'm going to take that dollar right out of this mason jar. So I'm going to erase it. And Ryan, likewise, I'm going to take $1 and I'm going to give it to you. Type in 1. Cool. So Kartik, you have $1. Ryan, you have $1. And as far as you're concerned, you also have an additional $10 of capital that you gave me in order to make that wealth creation happen. So, Mark and Samira, they were on the fence. But now you hear back, you go up to Ryan and Kartik, you say, "Is this Mark guy legit?" Mark with the C, well, Mark, me. Is this Mark Investments? Is he legit? And you go, "Yeah." Have I lied to you, Kartik and Ryan, so far? I said I'd give you 10% return on investment monthly. Have I lied to you? No, I'm perfectly honest, right? You got $1 back, exactly. So you're going to vouch for me. Mark and Samira, you want to join in? Hop in the train here. Cool. Mark wants in on this. This is some juicy action. Samira, am I putting you in? Not yet. You want to hold out? Cool. So Mark, you got to give me $10. Is that cool? Joven wants in. Is it Joven? Anybody else want to? Yeah, y'all off. Okay, so Joven's going to jump in. Cool. So, okay, cool. So Mark, Joven, I'm going to need $10 from either of you. So that's going to be $20. So both of you write 0. Because your pockets are empty now, your original capital. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. This is the capital the startup capital for investment that Mark and Joven have given me. Cool. We're somewhere, let's say early February. By the way, February is a pretty cold month. I'm going to heat my house. Let me just grab $1 here. All right, my house is much warmer. Also, it's my wife's birthday. I'm going to take her to the Keg. So I'm just going to take out $3 here. I'm going to take her to the Keg. So I took out $3 for that. It's a big lobster dinner. And I also got her a pearl necklace. So I'm going to put $4 out of here. $4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The necklace goes over here. This is her necklace. The lobster dinner, what happens after a lobster dinner at the Keg? Can you retrieve what you spent on? No, it goes in the Fraser River. I'm sorry to say, right? But the necklace is there. The necklace is there. It's in my house. All right, cool. And all right, cool. And I do have to say I have a subscription to Disney Plus. That's going to cost me $17. No, I'm kidding. $1 for that, and I want a flat screen as well. Subscription to Disney Plus. Then we're never going to recuperate that. But I'm getting myself a flat screen TV, and I'm gonna put that in my house as well. So because quite the lifestyle I've got. Flat screen TV. There we go. All right. Next month comes along. Cool. I got to pay back my folks here. It's time for dividends here. Kartik, I'm giving you $1. Ryan, I'm giving you $1. Mark, I'm giving you $1. Joven, I'm giving you $1. All of you, tell the class how much money you have in your wallet. I got to take $1 for Kartik, Ryan, Mark, and Joven. So yeah, so how much money you have in your wallet at the moment? Yeah, it sounds kind of like a pyramid, Ratislav. Almost like a pyramid. You'll see the difference. Yeah. But even worse, in dark ways, when we get to the big problem, Ratislav, you'll be like, this is messed up. It'll make pyramids look nice. Who wants in now? So, okay, look, earlier, do we agree when Kartik joined in as my early adopter, there was a lot of risk? Type in agree if you agree, because I was an unproven person. For all he knows, I'm just bullshitting. My offer sounded too good to be true. This was very risky for Kartik. But now, we're 1/6 into the year. If an investor joins in, it's less risky now because I got references, right? Someone's curious. I can say, well, look, ask Kartik, Ryan, Mark, Joven. Let me check everyone. Let me check all 4. Have I lied to you? Yes or no? As far as you're concerned. Have I lied? No, I keep my promise. Absolutely. I'm legit. I'm above the board. All right, so who wants in? Now that it's a proven, that's a lot. Who wants in? Join in. And remember, you can't see that it's a mason jar, right? Shavjeet, you're gonna go for it? I want some more investors here. Of course, investors are good for me, right? They're my bloodline here. Vishavjeet. Anybody else? Give me some more investors here. 10% monthly. You don't get that every day. Join in. Dante's in. Cool. Dante, you are in, my friend. Vishavjeet, you give me $10, so write 0. And Dante, same. You give me $10, so write 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 from Vishavjeet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 from Dante. All right. March is coming by. Okay, so let's say Kartik, for whatever reason, you decide you're going to bail out. You want to bail out. So you say, Mark, can I have my capital back? So ask me in the chat. During the month of March, for whatever reason, Kartik says, I'm pulling out. Can I have my capital back? Can I please have my capital back? All right. I'm sorry to hear that, Kartik. Sure, I'll give you your capital back. So let me erase you over here. You are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Because you gave me 10. All in all, Kartik, how much you have in your wallet? Yeah, you got $12. The fact that I return Kartik's capital upon request, does that increase or decrease my trustworthiness? Yeah, it's like he wanted his capital back. He got it. Cool. All right. Month two goes by. Month three. Here we go. Month three. During that month, by the way, I went to visit Romania. Always wanted to do that, so that's going to be $2 over here. Went to Paris also. That's another $2. And I got myself the newest Tesla Cybertruck because I'm an ass. All right, that's 4 over here, and I'm going to put my Cybertruck over here. Let me draw the best Cybertruck I can. There you go. That's my Cybertruck. Luckily, when you do stick figures with the Cybertruck, you're actually doing it accurately. So that's my Cybertruck. Cool. Who wants in? I want more investors. I need, let's say, 3 more investors. Investors, people, just say yes if you want to join in. This is about to go. This is about to go in interesting places. You're going to find out. So Richard, cool. Andrew and Samira. Samira, you were hesitant at first. What with your lawyer, Samira? Though right now, do you have any reason to worry based on what's happened? Samira was my fence sitter earlier. Was hesitant, backed out, but no, it's actually, you lost. You could have made more money, but you sat this out. But the trade-off is now there's more security, less risk, right? So Samira wasn't sure. Samira decided to join in now. So Richard, Andrew, and Samira, these are my new investors. Each give me $10. Can you please write 0 in your? Show me what you got in your wallet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. The wife wants to go have another dinner. We have another one. I'm going to just make some repairs on my roof, some repairs on the old roof here. That's going to cost me $2. There's some math guy that's looking into my stuff and is very concerned. I'm going to bribe him. I'm going to give him $2 so he shuts the hell up and goes away. Then he bribes. He's like, no, I'm blackmailing you for more money. I give him another $4. Shut up and go away. He spends it on his flat screen TV and whatever he spends it on. Ryan, you're backing out because, it turns out you had a beer with the math guy, and he told you what he's suspecting. Ryan, you gonna back out? Say I want my money back. Ryan had a beer with the guy I just bribed, close acquaintance, and is starting to suspect. Yeah, as far as you're concerned, you tell me it's no reason. I got to give you back your money. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How much money you got, Ryan? 13. And Mark, just because Ryan backed out, you're chickening out too. You want your money back. Ask me for your money. Cool, Mark. Oh, that's fine. I'm sorry to lose you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, you feel a cold wind, right? All right, cool. I'm sorry, and Mark's gone, so let me just erase Mark's name from my list of investors here. Cool. Right now, I'm kind of hoping no one else backs out. If everyone right now, so let's just pause. Everyone who played along, tell me how much money you have in your pocket. Richard, Dante, Joven, 0, 0, 1, 13, 12, Cartier. Cool. All right. If everyone backs out right now, I got how many investors? I got 1, Joven, Vishev Jeet, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How much money would I have to repay them? So if all 6 back out, I need $60 in capital. How much money is in my mason jar? Let's actually count them. 1, not enough, huh? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Kartik, you're good. You did that well. All right, I got $20 in my thing. It turns out, Christ, this is not the email you want to get. Jovan, Vishavjit, Dante, Richard, Andrew, and Samira. Certainly Richard, Andrew, and Samira. You get an email. I'm being investigated for fraud, specifically a Ponzi. Turns out someone looked into my affairs. Some person apparently I couldn't bribe, and they found out all I got is a mason jar. Um, crap, 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 crap. You're all victims of a Ponzi scheme. You are screwed. Okay, so, well, Kartik says investors are screwed. Okay, so 20 divided by 6 is what? So suppose I take this and I divide it by 6. 3.3. Wow. Okay, hold on here. 3.3 periodical. So 3.3. Samira, are you happy with this? A couple days ago, you gave me $10, and you got 3.3. How you feel about this, Samira? Yeah, you were all lawyered up, right? So you're glad you're all lawyered up. She warned me. Like, I'm all lawyered up. You ain't happy about this. Andrew also as well, right? Jovan, if I give you 3.3, how much money do you have? So if we carve this equally, so if we carve all of this equally, Jovan, how much money do you have? You have 4.3. Is that fair? Samira has 3.3. Jovan has 4.3. Is that fair? Yes or no? Mark, how much money do you have in your pocket? Mark, you got 11. Samira, how do you feel about the fact that Mark's got $11 and you got 3? You think that's fair? You're pissed. Kartik, you're in the Bahamas. How much money do you have in your pocket? You got $12, even more than Mark. Okay, so we agree. Let's. I'm going to jail for this stuff. We're going to liquidate my house. Do we agree? I don't know how much I spent on the roof, but we can't get that money back. Or we can resell the house, but we'll get less than what I paid. Type in agree if you agree. We'll get less than what I spent on the roof. Yeah, we'll get less than what I spent on the roof. Less than what I spent on the necklace. Keep me honest here. Less than what I spent on my laptop, my flat screen TV. Again, keep me honest if I make a mistake here, right? You want the TV, right? Much less. Sorry for the pot shot. Much less than what they lost me when they heard that one of the parts was held together by glue. That's when they lost me. Just made me laugh. Far less for what I paid for the Tesla Cybertruck. What about the? So let's say we sell all of this. Let's say I end up liquidating everything. There's a big fire. What is it? Fire sale. We get $10. Let's make this an easy number. Let's imagine we end up $6. So it turns out you're going to have 4.3 each. Is that still enough? 4.3. It's not working out. And that's assuming let's say it was a good auction house. The 6 is as high as we could get. This was a really good auction. It's all fishy. It's all sus. It's very suspicious money. No one wants to buy this stuff in a hurry. They know it. They got leverage. We need to liquidate this fast. So 4.3. Samira, we've liquidated everything I had. What about the trips, the operas I went to see, the lobster? Can we get any of the money back? The trips, all the experiences, my massages. Money is gone. Yeah, that money is gone. We're not getting that back. Hold on here. How much money? Okay, so Kartik, you have $13. Kartik, how would you feel if someone knocked at your door, said, "Hi, we're the police. We want $3." Knock knock. I paid my mortgage. Well, then how about we seize your assets? How would you feel about that? Get out of your house. Your house isn't yours. It's Samira's. It's Andrew's. How would you feel, Kartik? I'm not liable for Mark's screw up. This is going to be where we're going to be messed up. Who was talking about a pyramidal scheme? It was Ratislav. Ratislav, I promise you it's going to be more messed up than it. Can you see how messed up that is, Ratislav? I told you how messed up it's going to be. This is messed up. This is messed up. Kartik, I've been asking, knock, knock at the door. I'm the cops. I want $3. But in fact, I could just as well say, I want more than that. Because Vishavjit, last I checked, how much money, let's say once we liquidated the assets, Vishavjit, how much money do you have in your pocket? You have more. Like if I give you 4.3, you're still not all on the way to giving me back to get back your $10, right? Like so this is messed up. This is a Ponzi scheme. So let me ask you a quick question. So it turns out I'm an asshole. You put me in jail. Here I am. I'm in jail. Is the problem solved? Yes or no? Once I'm in jail? No. Absolutely. You put me in jail. The problem is not solved. The aftermath of the problem is all of these people have other people's money in their pockets. And now let me ask all of my participants from Kartik to Samira. In this experiment that we just did together, are you an asshole? We've established that I am, but are you? Yes or no? You're all good people. You're all good people. You didn't do anything wrong. You're great. I agree. All you did was, right? You went up and you were told this. Hey, I'm able to spot and invest in little known areas of wealth creation. I mean, you could be, but you're not. So if you lend me your money, I promise to give you significant and steady returns on investment. And was I legit until like I got exposed for my mason jar? Was I legit? Yes or no? Yeah, the math guy started suspecting some stuff, but until I got fully exposed, right? I was legit. I was legit. And Kartik, couldn't you say, look, I'm an investor. I deserve compensation for the risk I took. Couldn't you say that? Like I took a risk. I remember Mark when he was a nobody. Yeah. After that, he had a flat screen TV and he was driving around town showing off his Tesla Cybertruck. But I remember him when he was a nobody, just some philosophy prof. And he came up to me and he said, you know what? I'm able to spot and invest in little known areas of wealth creation. I'll give you 10% monthly. And I took a risk on him because, he looked like a nice guy. He had a beard. You can trust a guy with a beard, right? And I deserve compensation for the risk I took, right? This is messed up. The real problem is going to be when Samira wants what's in Kartik's pockets. Samira, Andrew, and Richard, you're equally poor. You got screwed. But you got screwed for what? We've established you're good people. We've also established Kartik is a good person. And this is a mess. We've also established that liquidating my assets doesn't solve the problem. And we've also established that jailing me doesn't solve the problem. My friends, this is the end of our little game. Did you enjoy that? Does that make it stick? Ponzi schemes? How Ponzi schemes work? Messed up. You lost. No. Luckily, they were all little dots, right? Okay, you got no. Okay, so here's the part where this gets no more fun. This was all fun. I made little dots. In the end, there were no winners. Absolutely right. This looks like it's nothing. You have no idea how dead serious this is. This is as serious as a heart attack. We're going to look at two cases: the FTX and Bernie Madoff. FTX uses cryptocurrency. Bernie Madoff was using good old paper money with electronic storage and whatever, but like paper, there's a lot on paper. You want to know which one's largest before you choose which one of the two you want to look at. Recently adjusted estimates put Madoff's actual losses, and you got to sit down for these numbers, to investors at $18 billion, which is substantially greater than the unaccounted $2 billion lost under FTX. How's that? Do you feel the jaw-dropping, staggering? Did you expect the numbers to be this high? Wow. We're going to learn now the small problem and the big problem. First off, let's do the small problem. Good guy, bad guy. In the exercise that we did earlier in class, who's the bad guy? Yeah. No, you're wrong. It wasn't. It was Mark, M-A-R-C. No. The Ponzi schemer, Mark. Yeah, we got to disambiguate that. It was me. I'm the bad guy. So we locked me up. You all were good guys. Likewise, in the cases you've looked at, whether it's FTX or whether it's Madoff, the bad guys are Sam Bankman-Fried and Bernie Madoff. Fair enough. You lock them up. And you might want to circle who's in the bad guy camp a little larger. Like in the case of Bernie Madoff, you have to wonder whether or not his family was in on it. There's some speculation about that. It's not clear. All that has to be established in the courts. Likewise, in the case of Sam Bankman-Fried, he had a cadre, a small group of people with whom he was working this fraud out of the Bahamas, running this Ponzi scheme. And all that the cryptocurrency did, by the way, was just facilitate that. It's funny because cryptocurrencies were initially, the hope was that they would be even more robust, but because the way the management of the different wallets is, they were making their native token FTT and were able to basically generate money and cook the books even quicker, fake money out of thin air. So there's a small group of people around Sam Bankman-Fried. They're the bad guys. We're the good guys. Lock up the bad guys. Problem solved. No, actually, problem begins. As we saw, this is a situation, good guy versus good guy. Bad guy versus good guy, we know how to deal with that. Every story tells us, from Star Wars to Cowboys and Indians, whatever, it tells us what to do, right? What do we do about this? Right? Like, what happens when it's Samira versus Kartik? What happens when it's early investors versus late investors? Right? The problem is the early investors and the late investors each are capable of saying the following. So some of the late investors can say, but my money was taken from me. That's the reply in blue here at the top, which is true. That's absolutely true. My money was taken from me. Like I put in money, I didn't do anything wrong, and someone took it from me. That's absolutely true. That's demonstrably true. And some of the early investors who happen to have some of that money in their pockets, in their assets and whatever, can also reply, but I didn't do anything wrong, which is also true. That's why this is a big problem. Both of these claims are true, right? Someone was wronged, but there's no more wrongdoers for us to put away, which is, by the way, some of the issues that concern me in philosophy of technology have to do with just that. We're on the cusp of creating AI that's capable of doing wrongdoings without having a wrongdoer. There's no one we can lock up when things go south with some of these things. Like if ChatGPT talks a small person into committing suicide as they're chatting with them late at night, it's not clear who we lock up. Is it going to be the OpenAI CEO? We have a wrongdoing without a wrongdoer. That's never happened before. We always had someone that we could identifiably blame. We don't have that. Likewise, in this situation, we don't have anyone save the Ponzi schemer that we can reliably identify as being as being the culprit. So what I want you to think about from today's class is not so much the easy problem or the small problem, but the big problem. Like, what do we do about this whole clawback situation? Clawback, by the way, is when I knocked at the door of Kartik and I said, I want your money back. That's what it is. That's a clawback, right? And so we want to be able to do that. Like, ultimately, like right now, the way this is happening is it's being settled in the courts. This is a legal document, by the way, as a follow-up to the Bernie Madoff case. I'm going to show you a part of this document here that's especially interesting from us. Let me get to the part I want here. Here you go. The purpose of this proceeding is to recover the avoidable transfers received by one or more of the defendants. Jeffrey Pickauer was a beneficiary of this Ponzi scheme for more than 20 years. So this is like the equivalent of Kartik if we want to run through not just 3 months, but imagine 12 months and even not just 1 year, like 20 years. 20 years at if Kartik would have invested $10 and it's $1 return on investment per month, so that's $12 times 20, so that's $240. You would have made $240 out of that $10. Kartik, that would have been insane. That's the equivalent for this guy, Jeffrey Pickauer. That's quite the ROI just because you were early, right? You took a chance on this guy. And so, yeah, happy you. Happy you, though, here's the thing, right? Everybody else, you think Kartik's entitled to that money? Without having to back that up, let's just test our gut feelings on this for a moment. You think if Kartik would have made $240 simply by my reshuffling money from other people to him, just because he came in early. Do you think he's entitled to that money morally? And just a reminder, Kartik didn't do anything wrong. I did something wrong, right? It's not obvious, right? Can you see how that's not obvious? Like he's not. If Kartik was a bad person, right? Um, and Ryan says not the gains, but it still feels bad because he could have invested in something else. This is what's interesting, right? Like, what distinguishes this case from a case of legitimate investment? Like, if Kartik invests in something legitimate, we're perfectly fine with letting Kartik have is $240,000. Well, I mean, it's contentious, I suppose, under other frameworks, but all other things being equal, I think we could easily say it's certainly less morally problematic for him to have that wealth, right? And it's not like he knew. And so this is interesting. We'll get to arguments in just a second, but this is the Picower dude, this early investor, and the other defendants collectively profited from the scheme through the withdrawal of, and this is not $240, $6.7 billion. That's a lot of money. The trustees' investigation to date has revealed that at least $5 billion of that, so 5 out of all of that, was fictitious profit from the Ponzi scheme. And unlike FTX, this was not also just partially dreamt out of nothing. Definitely would receive that minimum of other people's money. This is other people's money. Likewise for FTX, there had to always be capital coming into the mix. You can only just make up digital money so much before someone finds out you don't. And the crypto encoding and stuff forbids you from doing that. And so, among other reasons, this is interesting. Reasons, my ears perk up now as a philosopher because we want to know why. Defendants knew or should have known that they were profiting from fraud, all right? Because is an indicator word. What comes after because? When we have the word because, what comes after a premise or a conclusion? Yeah, we know this, right? That's a premise. So we got an argument here. Defendants knew or should have known that they were profiting from fraud. Why? Because of the implausibly high rates of return that their accounts supposedly achieved. Oh, this is interesting. This was too good to be true. You should have known. Wow, that's interesting. This is too good to be true. You should have known. And by the way, there's two claims here. Defendants knew or should have known. So just so you know, within this conclusion, two conclusions are actually compacted together, which we might put aside. One of them is that the defendants knew that they were profiting from fraud. Well, that's a descriptive question, right? Like we can settle that. Did you or did you not know? Well, it's easy. Let's imagine if we have an email between you can find an email in Kartik's inbox where he and I are like, we're colluding and we're saying, man, I can't wait to rip off these other people with our mason jar. Is he to blame? Yes or no? Like we can find an email. He was in on it. Is he to blame? Yes or no? Yeah, but we'd have to find that email. Do you agree? Like we need evidence for that. You got to back that stuff up. You agree? Type in agree if you agree. That's why we go to court. You got to back that stuff. You can't just say you knew. You knew. It's like you can't just charge someone with saying they know. Like imagine, for instance, some mother uses toothpaste on her children, and the toothpaste, it turns out, contains arsenic. You can't charge that mother with child neglect and say she knew. Maybe she didn't know. You have to back that stuff up. You can't ascribe knowledge to another person without evidence. You need evidence for that knowledge ascription to be justified. So there's a descriptive claim about whether or not the defendants knew. And that's a question of finding the paper trail, that email, the smoking gun that says that they were in on it. But then let's say you can't find that. I can't prove that Kartik knew. You can't find the email where he and I are talking about my mason jar. Well, let's say Kartik didn't know. Well, he should have known. Is that a descriptive or a normative claim? I can't back up that Kartik knew, but then I double down and I say, but he should have known. Yeah, that's a normative claim now. You should have known, right? That's a normative claim. Well, should he? What are the levels of expectations here, right? Can we really say that the folks who lost money on the FTX collapse should have known, right? Like you saw as well as I did, right? This was backed by what? Celebrities, right? You saw the ads. There was who's that famous athlete? I think he's a football dude. He was doing some ad. I got to get in on this FTX stuff. I'm sorry. He looks like a jerk to me. I don't know who he is. Tom Brady. Cool. I'm sorry. I don't want to judge. Um, my red flags would go up. He just looks too slick. But Tom Brady, he's supposed to be somebody if you know some of this stuff, right? He's backing that up. It looks legitimate. They had a stadium named after them. Right? Can you imagine, like, if you're investing in something and you have every indicator that this is legit, sitting down with, Bill Clinton and whatever, right? Sam Bankman-Fried looks totally legit. Between him and he was hobnobbing with the likes of Elon Musk. Like, you can put them in the same boat. You're like, well, these are principled people creating wealth, right? But they say, well, you should have known. Really? By what standard? Like, the standards, we ought not to raise the standards so high that normal people, let me say this slowly because this is important, in arguing for or against this kind of stuff, if you want to make the claim that they should have known that they were profiting from fraud, the early investors should have known that they were profiting from fraud, you can't paint yourself into a position where the standards of what you are expected to know are so high that no real investor on the ground actually meets those standards. Like, those of you who have investments, have you ever been to the industrial park to visit the actual floor of the places you're investing in? Let's say if you've got a business that you're invested in through a portfolio manager, did you ever go, like, did you ever take your car, drive to the industrial park, open that, ask for an appointment? No one does this, right? You're at a remove. You deal with your portfolio manager who deals with some other seller or buyer on the stock market, the stock exchange, and you don't actually go verify, which is one of the reasons why one of the cases we're not looking at is Theranos, and there's also, what was it, Nikola. There's all these promises of these new technologies, right? These interesting cases. Is someone in this class talking about Nikola, the electric car that ended up being a dud, all bogus, next week? No? Okay, because that must mean someone else. But these are perfectly interesting cases to look at because, again, investors can only do so much, especially if you spread yourself out. And so this is an interesting question. We have now, like, this is the situation using our tools. Here's two claims. Clawing back money from early Ponzi investors is morally justified. Clawing back money, by the way, is this done with or without the person's consent? So clawing back, if I claw back your money, do I have your consent? With or without your consent? Yeah, without your consent. Exactly. I love the expression clawback. It's like, you don't want to give up the money, but I just take your assets. I just take them, just like I could just seize your car or take a piece of your bank account, right? That's a use of force, by the way. We talked about the government, where we're talking about partners and providers. The government has in our society a monopoly on the use of force, and ultimately, like, someone out there is going to show up and take your stuff, whether you like it or not. When you use force, you'd want to hope that it's justified. There's a difference between Mark Carney and the Godfather in the mafia is presumably, and you'd want to hope, the person who's the head of state is morally justified in how they deploy force. And so are they, though? That's the question. That's definitely a question for ethics and politics to wonder. These are both branches of philosophy, political philosophy and ethics. Clawing back money from early Ponzi investors is morally justified. You might want to say clawing back money from early Ponzi investors is not morally justified. And notice here, we're doing the early Ponzi investors because it stands to reason that they made money and that the later investors lost money, right? And you have space here for three reasons. Let's have some fun. Let's at least come up with one for each. What would be a reason for this? In your own words, just a quick sentence. Why? Why would it be morally justified to claw back money from early Ponzi investors? Because it would succeed to pay back those who lost money. So if nothing else, there's that. Yep. Fairness to people that lost money. Dante, that looks a bit circular. You want to watch out. Remember, one of our rules is you want to assume the very thing you're trying to prove. That smells a little bit like a circle. Do you see that? Morally justified, fair. That seems to be saying the same thing. Who's they, Andrew, when you say they were also scammed? And that looks like it could be a reason for the claim in red. And again, first draft on these reasons, right? Like this is not an easy thing. Kudos to everyone for playing along and taking risks in the chat. We're going to shimmy into place. And Ryan's reason is, I don't know that it's a conclusive reason, but it gets the job done, right? It's one reason. Mark says the gain of one was the loss of the others. That just describes things. That doesn't give us guidance, though. That's true, Mark. Do you see that? It's true what you said, but it's hard to see how we could plug that in as a premise in support of either conclusion, because that's a background assumption from which the issue arises. You see that, Mark? Like, it's true. But yeah, it does. It's true. It's a true claim. So for what it's worth, it's not false. Andrew says those who benefited are also scammed, and all those who scammed lose. Well, they were also scammed. So you would think, okay, so Andrew, is the reasoning that, I don't know, those who benefited were also scammed. So therefore you can just take it from there. What does that mean? They were also scammed if they benefited. You weren't scammed, you benefited. It feels like the first part of that sentence commits a bit of a contradiction. You weren't scammed, you made money. Like it turns out, like scamming is the proof's in the pudding. Like is it a net loss or a net gain, or you flush fit? You can't be scammed and make money. You can make money from a scam. Do you see that, Andrew? Like I would say that logically speaking, you can't be scammed and make money. You can make money from a scam, but if you make money, by definition, you weren't scammed. Type in agree if you agree, by the way, with what I've just said. This kind of conceptual analysis of what the word scam would mean. Just to check with everybody, just check your intuitions if I got that right. Because I'm not the sharpest logician at the end of class. Yeah. People who lost money that couldn't liquidate. Yeah, again, Dante, that seems to say the base scenario, right? That seems to be a true claim. Ryan says to prevent early investors from having more money than those who invested later. That again says what we wanted the conclusion, Ryan. Right. That's what a clawback would be. Yeah. Can we? Is this easy or hard? By the way, just to take stock of where we are. It's difficult, right? It's not. Where are your intuitions? So, like just right now, and your intuitions could be wrong. So remember, we don't want to rely on our gut feelings. Green or red, can't have it both ways. I'll read what Dante has to say. One should try to help people that are scammed. FTX scammed a lot of people. Something like Dante, that's not bad. But then we need to be able to say why you have to help them and why that's the way to help them. You also think like you also have to. One should try not to take money from innocent people. Do you agree, Dante? Just check the colors just for a second. Yeah. All right, so I got a couple greens in here. What'll be a good reason for the red? Let's do this. Maybe that's going to come out a bit easier. It's not morally justified. And again, it's not like we're going to fill that out today, but just food for thought for your entries. But let's just have a few things before we wrap up. See what folks have said. Ponzi investors were also scammed. That thing still feels weird, Richard. So you say Ponzi investors, like we have to consider late and early. It seems to me, okay, let's just hold on. I'll read what Ryan and Andrew say. It would be like punishing people who are knowingly investing as well. I agree. You might want to say they were innocent, therefore it's not morally justified. Does that capture your thought, Ryan? Which, if they didn't know, then they were innocent by definition. Andrew says, I'm trying to say clawback is justified because taking that money, spreading it around is the same loss as fair. But is it though? So Andrew, let's say I need money. Can I take it from you? I need it. I have a loss. You're innocent. You didn't do anything to me. I can't just randomly take people's money just because someone else lost money. Like, they would have to find the money somehow. Yeah. Let's just pause. We've said this is hard. Can we agree that even if it's a scam, if you made money, you won out on the scam? Like, you can't walk around pretending you're a victim if you made, what was it, $5 billion, right? You can't go, oh, woe is me, right? Oh, by the way, can we also agree that if the person who made Jeffrey Pickauer, if you make $5 billion and you voluntarily feel like giving up, it's perfectly fine. You can do that. Type in agree if you agree. Yeah, and Richard says like, it's kind of like gambling. Unpack how that is. So that'd be a great entry. Is it kind of, right? Is it and is it not? Unpack that kind. I'd love that. Make a great entry. And I hope I got your mind racing. My friends, did you like today's class? My game is my job is to get your mind racing. Start the engines, and the internet dumbs you down. I bring you up. I try to rev you up and get you thinking. Yeah, well, now you open a draft, right? So start typing. Like, you can't do it in the chat, and put aside some time, right? Just sit down, take a break, go to the washroom, open up a template, and then start writing something. And remember, the same thing. You've seen me now, right? I'm just going to ask tough questions and ask those tough questions of yourself. Also, prep your group presentations. And next week, it's potluck, Group C and F. And Kartik, lovely for you. You got your. I got. Well, I'm the big gorilla. Kartik, I am clawing back your money. Claw back. I'm taking your money. Let's say I just decided, in my dictatorial mood, I decided to do that. So Samira got all lawyered up and frightened me and scared me. And so yeah. Cool. All right. Well, on that note, are we clear on what we need to do? If everything's crystal clear, type in CC if you got a question. Last saloon for questions. Last chance saloon. And Ratislav, wasn't this more messed up than you expected? I told you this is way more messed up. The aftermath of that is way more messed up than the aftermath of a pyramid. Pyramids are bad, but man, this is a mess. What a moral conundrum. Yeah, that's messed up. All right, well, class dismissed and office time begins. Get the hell out. Enjoy this beautiful sunny day. Bye, Mark, and thanks for playing along. Thanks to everyone, by the way. You were good sports. Samira, thanks as well. Everyone who played along, I really appreciate it, Andrew. And thanks also for taking risks in the chat. Some of these reasons are hard to formulate. Thinking is hard. Work that muscle. Don't rely on AI for that crap, huh? First of all, good reason is you'll tank in the final. And just in general, get ready for life. Work your muscles. Kirith, you take care. Yeah, Ryan, stick around. We can talk about FTX during office time. Yeah, go ahead. Write your question if you want, or we can unmute later. Shoot, Ryan.
Well, sure. I guess I can just talk. Okay. Hi. I just want. Okay, so I know Bernie Madoff. That one's like a clear Ponzi scheme. I guess this building up on my question earlier, right? Because he took a bunch of money and basically took it out of the pot, like your example.
Yeah.
Right. It seemed like from the video what I was watching was Alameda was the, I guess, Ponzi scheme, and FTX just gave them a bunch of money, and then Alameda lost it. Or
True.
Like that, right?
So we could have called this Alameda as opposed to FTX, and I wouldn't have a problem with that. The way they tried to mess around with the different names of their corporations, so that they were masquerading the fact that they were generating the money out of thin air. And you could imagine, for instance, instead of just having my mason jar, so earlier when we were having our little activity, I showed myself as having a company, but I could have a made-up company, right? Under let's say my brother is a conspirator, co-conspirator with me, and we agreed to move the money around so we keep different books, and it makes it harder for you as an investor to figure out. It just looks more legit, right? And so, yeah, that could have been that. We could have called this the Alameda, but the bottom line is, concretely speaking, who was in charge? It was him and his cadre of people. Okay. And so, yeah, and also the FTT native token thing. They can't, by dint of the nature of cryptocurrencies, as you well know, involve a certain technology, NFTs, non-fungible tokens and whatnot. You can't just generate them out of thin air. Someone will find out, right? And so the FTTs have to be done. The code has to be kept in-house. And there has to be an influx of I want to say genuine money, insofar as crypto could be genuine, there has to be money coming from Bitcoin, from all these other cryptocurrencies at some point. You can't just say no one would fork up the initial capital. Like if I started just with, I have a native token, all I would have is what do they call those? A meme coin, right? All it would be a meme coin. And everyone knows a meme coin is not tracking wealth creation, right? That, so far as that economic game of speculation is concerned, meme coins are what they are, but we don't, no one expects to have compensation for the fact that if, let's say, the Donald Trump meme coin or the Melania meme coin, tanks and they lose value in the meme coin because they didn't pull out in time, it's like no one's going to cry for those people because you're getting into a game that's completely vacuous. This is different, right? Presumably, and this is an open question, but presumably the cryptocurrency tracks wealth creation more than a meme coin. That's an open question. I'm not convinced of that. But the idea is you do need people to come up and voluntarily offer the capital. Yeah, does that make sense, Ryan?
Okay. And then the other thing was, it seemed like FTX just took customer money so people that weren't even involved in the Ponzi scheme, like the Alameda Ponzi scheme too. Is that like a problem?
Yeah,
like, I don't know.
They did lots of things wrong, including the Ponzi. So it wasn't as pure as, let's say, the Madoff one. Although Madoff was also, like, one of the things is there's a mixture in here. So we talked a moment ago, I think it was your question, when I made the genus and species distinction, and I said there's financial fraud comes in different varieties. Like you can also have a mix in there of people doing something like front running and insider trading and all of these things. They're there, right? Like they're in the mix as well. So Ponzi's one of them. If you wanted to do a full cartography of all of the things they did wrong, I'm sure you could come up with other things. It's not pure.
So this one is a whole lot more things than just a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
There's a Ponzi scheme there. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a Ponzi scheme for sure, and a lot more. And the thing that happened with cryptocurrency is because of I don't know, somewhere along the way, someone was stupid enough to believe that native tokens are a thing. That's where I draw the line. I'm sorry. Like the thing is, the native tokens are unmoored from the verification methods that are essential to cryptocurrencies. So cryptocurrencies cannot be because of blockchain technology. You can't mess around with them in a manner that you can if you create your own native token. And the native token just was literally made up money for that they invented. And they said, look, well, I'm going to have a one-to-one match. We're going to transfer, just so we can manage the books better. We'll do a one-to-one match between the cryptocurrency and the native token, and then we'll retranslate back the native token into the cryptocurrency. I don't know why anyone would agree to that, because even though it makes for greater fluidity in managing the numbers, it's so easy to doctor the books and the numbers after in a manner that this would have been the wet dream of people like Bernie Madoff, who was printing paper receipts. Like, this is literally, once you've agreed, like once, let's say you give me $10 and then I decide to transform it into mark money because I'm convinced you that, you know what, mark money is easier for me to move than the real, legal tender Canadian printed money from the Canadian Mint in Ottawa. I'm just going to take these little pieces of paper, and then I'm going to impress you with my pieces of paper that are just literally like monopoly money. If you agree to that, it's so easy for me to print out monopoly money in a manner that it's not easy for me to print out money from the Canadian Mint, right? And it's extremely easy then for me to hide the fact that I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So hide that from you.
Basically, FTX was printing stocks, or like their own stock, I guess. But because it was cryptocurrency, people couldn't tell that they were doing that.
Exactly. Like, take Bitcoin. Okay, so Bitcoin has 22 million Bitcoin at maximum can be mined. So there's a ceiling. And that scarcity ensures the value, because of course, if everyone could just generate Bitcoin, there would be no scarcity, and without scarcity, it would never increase in value. So the way it's designed is there's a hard-coded in ceiling, and it gets increasingly less profitable to mine the Bitcoin, but you reach a ceiling. So it's an asymptotic limit that you get nearer to, and eventually there'll be such a small return on investment of actually mining the Bitcoin, but there's a ceiling. That's what ensures it. When you have a native token, the native token is completely unmoored from that constraint, right? There's no reason why I can't
it to pay off their acquisitions, basically.
Exactly, you just make your shit up. Now, if people understood, let's say, that Alameda Well, if I hold, like, let's say there's no past history of Sam Bankman-Fried ever lying, deceiving, cheating anyone, and we've always known that he retranslates back FTT into FTX. He always transforms the native token into a cryptocurrency. So it's really just what he says it is, a way of handling the books. If we did that, I could brag about the fact that I've got a lot of native tokens, and you would take that as a sign of wealth. But that's provided there's a one-to-one match between the native tokens and the crypto tokens. If you don't have that one-to-one match, you're completely uncoupled from it. And since there's no mechanism for guaranteeing the translation into and retranslation back into native token to cryptocurrency and back and forth, this is where, but this would be my diagnosis, people are absolutely gullible. Investors, to my mind, deserve a lot of moral blame for going along with something knowing that their wallet management system used a native token. The native token, if it's not using blockchain technology, just basically means there's some guy with a hard drive and you're trusting him. That's just stupid.
Yeah.
And to my mind, if the moment you hand over your fortune to some guy with a hard drive and you're trusting him, I feel like you've lost your moral high ground to then complain if you lose money. I feel, right? But I feel that's my diagnosis. So there's a layer to the FTX case that there isn't in Bernard Madoff. And Bernard Madoff, I guarantee you would have, and you can see it in the documentary, he was always on the cusp of technological advancements. Because if you look at throughout the 20th century, there's a moving away from, there's at one point Nixon, let's go of the thing in the 1970s of the gold standard. Yeah. So there's this moving away from this tight connection between material wealth to sort of the currency. The currency gets further and further uncoupled. And I think that's actually not a good thing up to a certain point. There's a trade-off. You get fluidity, but you also there's a lot of risk that starts to accumulate with that. Blockchain changed some of that, but you need the blockchain in there. So the only thing about electronic currency that makes it currency is the blockchain technology that prevents it from anyone doing whatever they want, right? That's the difference between a meme coin or whatever. And so this is why that case is slightly different, but fundamentally the basic is the same. Like what we did with the jar is applicable to FTX. It's a simplified toy model of what's going on. My main interest is to realize how you can end up in the aftermath of that, where money's been transferred from the pockets of one individual to another individual, both individuals of which are good guys, neither of whom knew what was going on, and neither of whom can properly be blamed for having done anything wrong. And yet, nevertheless, the money that Samira lost is in Kartik's pockets, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Mm-hmm.
That's messed up. And even if we and we liquidated, everything that Sam Bankman-Fried had, and we liquidated like everyone, that's the first order of business. But the second order of business is to say, well, what about these other people, right? And it's horrible. You have someone out there with a yacht. So at one point in the FTX video, confirm me if I'm right, there was a pension. I think it's from Ontario Teachers Pension Plan.
Oh yeah, it's like $97 million
Okay.
for that.
So there are some retired Ontario teachers that lost part of their pension, and there's a dude out there with a yacht, and literally his yacht is made from their pension savings. That's messed up.
Oh my.
You understand? Like there's someone who pulled out of FTX before the collapse. Like if you pull out of the FTX, and if you watch the clawback video, I think it was 90 days before the collapse. Anyone who pulled out 90 days before the collapse of FTX will not be clawed back. So if you bought your yacht and you pulled out of FTX with your wealth creation, your wealth, you made your money, you made great, you got yourself your yacht, your yacht was paid for by the pension savings of these Ontario teachers. And no one's going to touch you because you did that 91 days before the collapse. How do you feel about that?
Oh, that sounds horrible.
That's messed up. And legally, that's kind of like legally we say, well, 20 weeks you can't get an abortion. Legally, you can draw a line wherever you want. Like legally, you can draw a line and say, this is where British Columbia ends. This is where British Columbia ends. This is where Washington State begins. If you smoke on this side, it's fine. If you don't on this side, it's wrong, right? I get that legally they get to draw a line. But morally, what's so special about 90 days? Like, why is it that if you get your yacht at 91 days using the money from the pension retire savings, you're fine. You don't get clawed
Okay,
back. But
this is
had you
the second midterm question, actually.
it's like, this is messed up. This is completely messed up. And that's why, from a moral standpoint, I suppose if I was a lawyer, I'd say leave it up to the ethicist, but I'm not a lawyer, I'm an ethicist. So I get all the it's like, well, what, it's not like because we decree it so that it makes it so, right? So I can decree that, hey, after 90 days, too bad, so sad. We're not going to go after those people. It's like, what the hell underpins that cutoff point? And then you really do end up with people who lost money on their pension savings and the guy with a yacht. And that morally seems like an abomination, but the guy with the yacht will say, I didn't do anything wrong. And of course, it's clearly apparent that the person who lost their savings clearly didn't do anything wrong. They're not even in control of how their savings, their pensions are being managed. So it's just shocking. It's just, there's no, here's the thing is, there's no right answer to this. All we got to do is try to make the least wrong one. And that's the task that I vomited onto you. And now you got to clean up that mess.
I see. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, no problem, Ryan. Ryan, you did you enjoy this one in particular? That's closer to your concerns, am I right?
Yeah, I did like that. At least this case, this was cool. I think that I definitely heard of banning nerd off, but that one's a bit more, well, not simple, but it's just like clear cut. This is a bit different.
There's layers to this, and it's fun. And the thing is, again, for you, the thing to watch out for. So what's cool is it amps up your interest, and for you, given your interest and your focus and your discipline, what you need to think about is, well, what are the ethical issues? It's like you have to understand that in this classroom, saying something like, well, there's a 90-day cutoff point, that doesn't hold a drop of water with us. You understand? Like, that's purely arbitrary. That would be like when we were distinguishing
the legal aspect. There's no moral there.
Yeah, the cultural, legal, and moral level, well, we want to move away from the cultural and legal layer. Those levels, as interesting as they are, how does that work out? Like, kind of like if I have a student, if I'm teaching applied ethics and we're doing, abortion or something like this, and someone says, well, it's 21 weeks, it's wrong, and 19 weeks, it's fine. Like, if someone gives me that argument just because there's a book in Ottawa that writes that down, that doesn't hold a drop of water in a discussion of ethics, right? Like, who cares? And so that's what makes it arguably harder, because whatever arguments we want to build, and there's a space there to build them, and you've seen how hard it is, we can't help ourselves to such silly premises because they're silly. They're convenient, but they're silly, right? So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, yeah, now that I've impressed on you the full magnitude of that, open a draft and start writing. And then look forward to reading it.
Sounds good.
All right. Talk to you next week, Ryan. Great questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Samira, Andrew, were you listening to all this?
Yep, I just tuned in to listen to what the question was and the further discussion. I found it interesting, so I wanted to see what else was being said.
Chime in, Andrew, if you need to. Andrew, how'd you like today's messed up vomit?
I liked it. I liked same with like the phrase there where I was trying to figure out a justification for why clawing back would be morally justified. My thought process was like, I don't necessarily agree with the clawback entirely, but I was trying to think of a reasoning as to how you could justify it. And that's where I was like, this is something where nobody did anything wrong, who went into the, essentially put their money into the jar. It's just that some people managed to get more money when they left the jar than others. Yeah. And the money they left with was not necessarily their own money that they were leaving with, because the person orchestrating the Ponzi was the person who spent their money, not the other people. So that's why I'm like, okay, so everybody's money was taken by this person. So why does this person get to leave with somebody else's money? That's why I was trying to think of a way to phrase it of everybody should, the clawback should be justified because return as much money of your own money back to everybody who was hurt by the person orchestrating or managing the jar. But it's a tough one.
It's a tough one, and you got to watch out for the circles, right? So the thing is, it's easy, especially if you feel like, and your intuitions morally aren't reliable, but they are powerful. And so if your intuitions tell you very strongly that one of these claims is the correct conclusion, it's really hard to steer away from circles, right? Because you just find yourself basically and agreeing is not arguing, right? So if it's just agreeing in different wording, it still doesn't tell us why. Like the clawback is a use of force to go against a person's consent and take what they have away from them. That's theft. In every ordinary circumstance, we call that theft, right?
Mhm.
So in order for it to be morally justified, we have to say something more robust. And people lose in the stock market or investing in general all the time. Like it can't be enough of a reason that someone lost, because people lose all the time. Like I would easily love to say, hey, I got ripped off, I lost, right? Let's say if I invested a lot in the Apple Vision Pro, because I thought it'd be the next big thing, the next iPhone, and it turned out to be a dud. And then a year later, I find myself having lost money, but some other guy invested a lot of money. I'd love to have some of that guy's money, whatever, but I can't do that. Like I'm not morally entitled to another person's successful investments because my investments were unsuccessful. So you have to watch out. Whatever reason you give can't be so persuasive that it henceforth allows us to take money from successful investors and transfer that money to unsuccessful investors. That's one of the constraints, because that would disincentivize all investor confidence. Like there would be no reason to invest anymore because you take a risk, right? And so it can't be a situation where the mere loss is presented as reason enough to take the money back. There has to be more than the loss, because people lose all the time. And we don't deem that a sufficient reason for taking other people's successful investors' money. So there has to be more. And we also need to address, in the argument for the claim in green, we'd have to address the fact somehow, we can't just airbrush it out of existence, that the people who are being taking their money from, the early Ponzi investors were, and this, unless there's evidence to the contrary, were innocent. So we're taking money from innocent people. And so it's like, wow, these are tough arguments to build. They are not easy, as we pointed out with Ryan. Illegally, you could do whatever you want. If you were just flipping a coin, it'd be very easy. But if you want to morally do it correctly and actually justify, it's not obvious. It's not obvious.
Yeah.
And that's the predicament. That's why these things are not obvious. And of course, these are the ones that show up on our radar because they're not obvious, right? Like you wouldn't need to spend 2 hours and 15 minutes to grasp an easy problem. The whole setup is precisely because I want to get you to the point where you realize, dang. Because often the stories don't talk enough about the clawback phase. All they talk about is, wow, because they're transfixed on the personality. There's this person who was a bad guy, and that makes for good print. So Sam Bankman-Fried was an interesting character. Like he was funny looking, he pretended to be poor and drive a bad car and walked around with his backpack and played League of Legends. It makes for interesting news magazine articles and stuff. But once we lock him up, you have to understand that then the real problems begin. And that's a conversation that I feel doesn't get any press. And from the standpoint of what we're doing in this class, that's actually where we ought to begin, because locking up the bad guys, that's a no-brainer. Like you don't need to come here to find that out, right? The problem is, what we do about, kind of like when I was talking about, remember Rajan is ill-behaved and competent. Remember that one? When we were learning the moral reasoning stuff? And Rajan works for Tesla and he's ill-behaved and competent. And then you find yourself not quite sure what to do because your principals recommend that you both retain and fire him, which you can't do. So it's these areas that when you're going to be, let's say, older in a few years or whatever, and you're on the job, you're working somewhere, and these situations come in front of you, at least you'll remember that you've got some tools that you learn to slow down, start disambiguating this, like just basically follow for the 4 rules, right? Focus on the reasons. Don't assume the very thing you're trying to prove. Make sure you've got reasons for and against. Actually shop around for the opposite side because you might be wrong. And then wherever you plant your flag, at least outline what would be the conditions where you'd plant the flag on the opposite side. Like what would have to be done for you to change your mind? I think if you do those 4 rules, it doesn't turn you into an all-knowing God, but it just makes my world a bit safer, and you're probably going to shoot yourself in the foot a bit less. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
That's it. That's like survival. It's like nature survival, right? Like you learn the basics, but it's still hard. Like once we drop you into the wilderness, even if you did your survival course, it's still hard. There's no guarantee you'll survive, but at least don't drink water you didn't boil. Make sure you keep your extremities warm, whatever is a survival kit, you know, those, and that doesn't solve everything, but it's not nothing. And so that's the same thing. Survival kit for navigating these waters. And especially, that's the no-brainer. Please, Andrew, don't be the next Sam Bankman-Fried. Right?
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah.
Yeah,